I'm Christina Fugis with MoldMaking Technology, and I am here with Mark Solberg, Executive VP of CAE Services, and Jason Bonanno, who is the Vice President of Business Development, CAE Services. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
That was a mouthful when there's two of you.
Yeah, you did a good job.
All right, so before we get into CAE and the innovations and what's going on with the company, let's get a little bit, we'll start with you, Mark, in terms of your journey into this community, this plastics industry and mold making community.
Started in 1988.
Okay.
We've been doing Moldflow analysis now for 34 years. And we got into this business to help people save money. And versus continuing trial and error, all processors want to make quality parts.
Yep.
In our opinion, it starts with Moldflow analysis.
What do you find inspires you the most about this community? Because it really is a community, it's not an industry.
Oh, serving our clients is such a joy.
The people.
The people,
The
absolutely.
people. All right, Jason, how about you? What's your background?
Yeah, I mean, I started in the trade in 1997.
That's when we started MoldMaking Technology.
Yeah, so
I mean, it launched in 98, but we started the research in 1997.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, so I graduated college and started as a mold designer
Okay.
at a company called High Tech Mold and Engineering in
Okay.
Rochester Hills, Michigan.
Yep.
I'm a native Michigander.
I know that.
And I had a pretty long journey in my career there, almost 18 years. So worked through design, engineering, manufacturing, program management, sales. So
Oh, wow.
I technically classify myself a mold maker by trade.
Yeah,
per se.
literally, yeah.
Yeah. Ventured out of there into the capital equipment side of the business for 6 or 7 years on the molding machine side.
Okay.
And just recently joined Mark and his team at CAE Services.
I love it. Someone with that wealth of a background. So how did your mold making background benefit selling molding machines? Is that what your job was? How do you think that?
Yeah, so my big joke to everybody was I spent the first 18 years of my career convincing my customers my molds were perfect, right? And then I switched to the machinery side. And I said, now my machines are perfect, and I have the knowledge to tell you how your molds are built all wrong.
Yeah, flip it right on them.
Right.
Well, and
so,
now you're working on the simulation side to catch mistakes earlier.
That's right. So
absolutely.
So how long have you been with CAE?
Be 9 months.
Oh wow, so that's a good find, Mark.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the beauty of what we do is like an MRI.
Yes.
You can see what's happening in the mold to prevent problems.
Yep.
Everybody has an opinion about where to gate it, or where the weld lines are going to be, or how much the part is going to warp. Well, now we can predict that much better today than 34 years ago, I can assure you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So a big question that comes up is how does a shop know when to outsource that service or to invest in the software?
Oh, that's a great question. We have what is called a CA audit.
Okay.
And we review with the clients, tell me about your cycle time issues, what type of part quality issues do you have, when you build a new mold, how many samples do you go through, are they hitting the cycle times that you require? Let's say your cycle time target is 18 seconds, new mold comes in, it's 24. What do you do now? So we gather information that really narrows down, you're spending $22,000 or $40,000 to get a good part. Consider the cost of the analysis to minimize that. Every molder is trying to optimize their process. It's just the way it is. But you got to evaluate what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
So if they're building 50 tools a year, we think everybody should have Moldflow. Everybody should have Moldflow. And if they can't handle all that work, then we're there to outsource. So it's really two businesses.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm interested in your perspective too. You always say molder. It's very clear the molder's benefit. What is the mold builder's role in this simulation world?
Yeah, I think that's a good question too, right? I kind of approach that with the mindset of, I tell everybody, a molder's not a mold maker.
Right.
And a mold maker is not a molder, right? So they approach the vision with two different mindsets, right? So the tool maker's goal is to basically build a mold that's going to be robust, it's going to perform, right?
Yep.
The molder's looking at it from a cycle time perspective, because the molder makes money on how many parts they make per hour. right? So the molder will benefit with Moldflow analysis, with being educated on the same set of criteria that the molder is looking at, right? And you know, a mold maker is accustomed to being, you know, essentially getting a lot of information and building the mold to a specific set of standards, a specific way that their customer wants it. But the value add is, as a mold maker becomes more educated on the simulation software, they can start talking the language of their customer. Right, and it's highly beneficial. By
I
all
always
means.
If a mold builder can minimize the samplings, and the customer sees quality parts on the first or second sample, they're building their reputation.
To get more business. I mean, we've been since the beginning trying to teach them to inject themselves earlier in the process. Like, get at the table. So this is a literal tool to help them do that.
Well, what people fail to understand, Moldflow analysis is a wonderful tool. It's not a perfect tool. It educates us and the users, for example, in the EV market, how thin is too thin? Right? So we evaluate that. It helps the molder understand the potential problems. We get together with the molder, the mold builder, and as a group, we work together for the end user's benefit to mold a good part on time.
It makes sense. Makes sense to me. All right, so let's get to some more specific questions. I know we've covered before with CAE with Tim and some of his editorials, so check out MoldMakingTechnology.com and search CAE. A lot of good content, because you guys are great at the education side of stuff. You know, I think and the videos that I've seen, I think that is definitely a strength of the company, is sharing your knowledge while you're trying to sell a service,
That's
right,
correct.
a product. Okay. So why don't you explain the importance of morphing and windage analysis as an accurate predictive tool when tolerance issues are a concern?
You know, I think the morphing windage is an incredible technology that's come a long, long way, right? I mean, the word windage in the old school tool making world would get people's attention, right? But the technology's evolved to a point that it's so accurate that it's giving the mold maker the confidence to necessarily not be so shy to have the quote unquote part to print conversation, right? So when you get into the windage studies, right, and the tolerances or high tolerances and things like that, typically a mold maker will chase those issues around a lot, right? Through 5, 6, 7, even 10 mold samples before they get things right in the mold.
They're problem solvers.
That's right, and you know, that's where the windage thing really steps in. You know, and it could take those 10 mold samples down to maybe 3 or 2. Right, and nowadays everybody knows a mold sample is not cheap either, right? So, and that's really where we focus the windage and things into those applications, right? Is it an application for every part that goes into injection mold? Absolutely not, right? But when you're coming to the high tolerance parts that require, you know, tight fits and things, and the molders and mold makers customers are putting that part to print responsibility on them to gain the business, right? That's where we fit into the puzzle for sure.
5 to 8 years ago, we would have a customer say, Mark, I can't change the part design, I can't change the material, I can't change the gate location, but my warpage, I'm out, my tolerance is plus or minus 2 millimeters, but I'm at 14 when I do the analysis. And we didn't have a way to resolve that issue until we started exploring morphing. And we have a nice history of accurate projects where windage and morphing, we're not scared of it anymore. We're just not scared.
Fear is gone.
Its fear is gone. We have a tool, we have something to help people get it right the first time. And it works. It absolutely works.
What do you think at this point remains the barrier to a mold builder or a molder? I mean, to me it always seems obvious. Why would you not want to simulate everything, right? Before you do anything?
I wish I had that answer.
Is it money?
Well, that's why we take the CE audit. We have to ask the questions. It's no different than your money's at home. You're wasting money. Where is it? What can we do to minimize that waste? And it starts with analysis.
How do you even get in the door? Because I would imagine it's a mindset.
Right.
In the very traditional industry, they're just like, don't want to change their process.
Right.
So how do you even get their attention to even have that conversation?
Well, that's why we started Ask the Moldflow Experts, where we give case studies that, yes, this does work. This isn't a pie in the sky.
Okay.
Here's technology. Here's actual projects that demonstrate the viability of the technology. So that's what we encourage people to sign up. They'll learn something, and we'll be an outsource if they want to buy software or if they want to use this for consulting. And it takes time to be a good analyst. It just takes time, and they need to buy into it to save money. If here's the issue. If they don't have any issues with cycle time or warpage, they don't need Moldflow.
Got it.
If they have some issues, you might want to consider it.
Got it. Agree? You agree with that?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things to bridge that gap. I mean, the business world now is all data driven, right?
Immensely.
So, and our analysis is supporting data, right?
Yep.
So, the more data that we can
That's
give
so true.
to a customer to support their value proposition on their end to win their business is
The
key.
better.
For sure.
Christina,
Yeah.
to go along with that, an online meeting last week with the company, there's 9 individuals, and they all disagreed on where to gate the part.
Yeah.
So, like
Oh my
Jason,
God.
taken with Jason, is opinions versus data.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
the key.
Data.
Data.
That is where the industry is moving.
It's
And
data.
From design to maintenance, it's all data.
Right.
That's where the growth is.
And parts are becoming more complex.
Yep.
They're thinner is thinner. So we had a webinar, how thin is too thin?
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Why is cooling analysis valuable to the mold builder and the molder?
Well, I'm going to take this one because, and you can add to it, 80% what goes on the tool is heat transfer. It's cooling.
Cooling time.
And if you have a deep pocket where you can't get cooling in, you're going to have a hot spot, which impacts cycle time, which impacts cooling and part quality. So when you consider the cost of analysis for cooling analysis, which is relatively inexpensive for the life of the program,
Yeah.
no opinions, because once the steel's cut, what happens? You're left with how the steel was cut.
Exactly.
So if we can look
You've made
at
your choice at that point.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you look at the cost value. Right? If you can reduce your cycle time from 18 seconds to 16 seconds, what does a 2-second savings mean over 3 years compared to the cost of the software or the analysis?
It's doing the math.
Doing the math.
Yeah.
That's my quick answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think also too, I mean, the cooling analysis, especially from a mold builder's perspective when it comes to warranty, right? So there's things in a mold that a customer is going to hold a mold maker accountable for I would say, a warranty time of a period of time, right?
Okay.
So, I used to have customers come to me and say, Jason, you need to guarantee your mold for 1 million shots. Okay, so what does that mean, right? So cooling analysis obviously will identify areas in the mold of excessive heat that typically will cause a premature failure, wear something, or something that will come out of warranty, and it becomes a big debate in the mold making world
Yep.
of who's really responsible for that, right? So, that's the first piece, and then obviously the second piece of the cooling analysis is, to Mark's point, cycle time from a molder, right? Cycle time is everything. So the more value add we can offer back again with the data,
Yep.
right? To show a molder that, hey, if you reroute your cooling lines, maybe add an isolated circuit here, we can improve your cycle time by a second or 2, right? That doesn't sound like a lot,
It's a lot.
but that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
You
Every
see it
second
all the
counts.
process.
Yeah.
The poor processor gets a mold. He doesn't know how to circuit. He doesn't know the proper temperatures. He's guessing, right? Guessing.
I know there is so much guesswork.
It's
Yeah.
it's unbelievable on the guesswork. So we have tools today that help the guys and the gals on the floor to optimize the process. Everybody's on a tight timeline.
Yep.
So circuit the tool this way. Start with the flow rate here. Start with the temperature of the water. This is a baseline to get you to optimize it.
Yep.
It's saving time and it's saving money.
Got it. So before I get to my final question or request, what's next for CAE? Like, is there something on the horizon?
Well, windage is still a big thing, and
Okay.
it's educating people. They shouldn't be fearful of analysis. Evaluate your costs, all right? And we work with customers to help them solve problems. That's our business. We solve problems. We want them to get it right the first time. So we're always going to be pushing that, can we get better, can we get better? And that's why we have such a big team and evaluate all these processes to get better.
Got it. Last words?
No, I think, to Mark's point, we're here to help people solve problems, and we're adding some things to the team now that are a little bit outside of the Moldflow world.
Okay.
Right?
Tooling engineers,
yeah,
for
we have
example.
some people on staff now that can look at a part from a tooling engineer's perspective and really point out to a customer, hey, yeah, put your gate here, put your water lines here, but guess what? Maybe that lifter or slide that you have in there isn't going to work so well, right? So to answer your question on what's new, that's going to be some new dialogue that our customers are going to start hearing from
That's wonderful.
us.
Now you're speaking their language,
I
right?
am speaking
So
their
you
language.
we
need
can
to
do-
market that.
Yes.
We will, and we'll do DFM for customers,
Yeah.
Okay.
get the beginning side, working with the tooling source, working with the molder, working with the OEM,
Okay.
Yeah.
get
Do you
everybody
ever get
together.
a molder and the mold builder at the table
Yes.
Absolutely.
together? Okay.
Yeah.
They have to be in the online meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
we
a
talk
pretty
about.
powerful conversation.
Yeah, everybody. What do you think about this drop location? What do you think about this? And we want everybody involved
Yeah.
because we're going to take away the opinion. We're going to simulate it, and give you data.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for that, gentlemen. So before I let you go,
Okay.
we have these T-shirts
Okay.
that say #Molds Make a Difference. I would like each of you to fill in the blank yourself. So Mark, molds make.
Employees.
I love it. Jason, molds make.
I would say molds make money.
Molds make money.
Yes.
That's a good one. There you have it. Molds make employees. Molds make money.
Yeah.
From Mark and Jason from CAE Services.
Thank you so much.
All right,
You're
thanks
welcome.
for having us so
and
much.
For everything mold making, visit moldmakingtechnology.com.